So you guys might have just watched the tutorial on how to make the strap for this bag. This is it. I'm going to put it aside, and now I'm going to show you how to get the bag ready. Okay, first thing is the measurements. If you skip over this and you ask me in the comments, you're not going to like my answer. So for my bag, I have measured, this is the flap. This is going to be the flap that goes over and closes the bag up. It is 10.5 inches by 8.5 inches, and there's a method to my madness always, but if you want to make a smaller bag, you can have at it. You know, you could take a couple of inches away from each piece, and then you'd get a smaller bag. For a bigger piece, add a couple of inches to each side, and you get a bigger bag. So anyway, that's the flap. This might be kind of hard for you guys to see the whole thing on camera, but I'm still going to give you the measurements. It kind of looks like, you see my theme that I've been doing lately? That little squared tissue box cover just inspired me to, like, you could do so many things with that pattern, and it's so easy. So anyway, that's why I'm doing this for you guys, because it's like, this is the easiest pattern to make. You don't have to figure out how big you want one piece to be and then the other, and then you got the whole piece right here for the bag. So anyway, in the middle is where I start when I make my pattern. I made this 10 inches long by 3.5 inches wide, and that gives me my starting point. And these little wings on the side, the little wings on the side are 9 inches long by 3.5 inches wide. They match up to the width of this. Now these pieces here are 10 inches long. They match up to the width of this by, how much do you think? 9 inches. So that's how you create your pattern. But you always start here. If you start trying to draw this little thing and then measuring it out, you're not going to get what I got here. You're going to start with this middle piece right here and then measure out for each side. And sometimes it's trial and error with the size that you want. This is the first one I'm making of this, but I'm pretty confident in my pattern making skills, so I'm just going to go ahead and make it as we go. So now that you have your measurements, don't you? Yes, you do. You do, if you haven't fast forwarded. Now that you have your measurements, what you want to do is cut out pieces. I have one piece of the outer fabric of this gorgeous, my favorite fabric from My Fabric Designs. It's the Angry Valentine's, I think you would call it. You know, be my ex, no more. You are a lousy lover. Can't stand you. I love this. I don't know why. It's the skulls are what attracted me, but the Valentine's sayings on it are cute. But anyway, you got one piece for the flap. You got one piece for the outside of the body. Got a lining piece for the flap. Yeah, I know. Then that fabric just so wonderful. Just wonderful. It's some fabric a friend gave me a few years ago, and I have tons of it, so I always use it for lining stuff. I mean, I don't really like the design, so I wouldn't use it for the outside of anything. But then you've got the lining for the body, and then you have one piece of interfacing to do the flap, and then there will be two pieces of interfacing, one for the lining and one for the outside of the bag, so that this is the kind of bag that yes you want to use. Two pieces of interfacing for the body because you want it to be a nice, sturdy, firm bag. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to press on all of these pieces of interfacing to their matching piece of fabric, and for the flap piece I'm going to press the interfacing to the outside part, just because that's the part that everybody's going to see and you want it to be nice and neat. And no, I do not recommend putting a piece of interfacing on the lining piece, because that's going to be too thick, and then all those layers together is going to drive you batshit crazy trying to get them, you know, without your machine skipping stitches and doing all that crazy stuff that it does when it doesn't want to do things you want it to do. Now that we've got our interfacing pressed onto all of our pieces, we want to take the bag pieces, just the bag pieces, not the flap, and I'll put this one aside. And what I want to do is fold over about 1/2 inch around all the top edges of the flap pieces, like it would be these two front and back pieces, the two side pieces, and I'm going to do that with a outside and the lining of the bag, because this is going to be a drop-in lining. We're not going to do any turning on the actual bag pieces, so you want to go ahead and do that at this point. So you see we've got all our pieces pressed, and they're not staying down so hot right now, but the next step's going to keep them down. So you definitely don't want to tack these with the machine, baste them on there, because it's going to really mess it up when you drop the lining in and you have to do that stitch all the way around. It's going to kind of make that look sloppy, so don't do that. Just when you start to put the bag pieces together, it'll come together just fine. So that's what I'm going to do now. Take these to the machine, and what I'm going to do is, you see how I've got like a front piece and a side piece, and I'm going to put them together where they line up, and I'm going to do that with each side. And I like to start down at the bottom part. I don't know why, that's just a thing that I feel like it comes together better. So I'm going to do a speed up. You guys are going to see me do that with each side of the bag, the lining and the outside of the bag. Okay, so now you see that's what I have. Whenever you get the pieces sewn together, you sew the sides together, this is what you end up with. So I'm going to put this aside for right now. Now what we want to do is, there's a piece of hardware that you're going to need. You can use Velcro. If you use Velcro or hook and loop, you'll need to do it before you sew these pieces together. But because I want to be absolutely positive that everything lines up on this bag, I'm not adding my magnet snap until I have sewn the flap together. But anyway, this is what you have with a magnet snap. You have two pieces, and you have two washers, and these would be great for a project like this. I have had mine for years, so I can't even go back and find the link to tell you where I got them. But I know you can find them on eBay. Just look up magnet snaps or purse snaps or purse closures, and you'll find these. They're really inexpensive. So now what I want to do is I want to put right sides facing together with this flap, you see. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to sew around three sides. I'm going to leave one side open for turning. Okay, so now I have my flap piece sewn on three sides. Left this side open. So now what I want to do is just clip these two corners to the corner. We don't want to clip through the thread. It's just to make it turn a lot neater. The corners will poke out nice and pretty. Before I do that, I'm going to fold it over and find the center of my piece. I'm going to make a little mark right here, and what I'm going to do is take a small scrap piece of interfacing, and I'm going to make it just maybe about 1.5 inches. I'm going to take two pieces, and I usually do it this way because it makes a nice thick piece. But what I'm doing is making a backing for that magnet. That magnet snap, so that it doesn't tear through the fabric. You definitely want to do that. If you're adding the magnet snap and you just do it through a thin layer of fabric, it's going to tear through eventually, and it's not going to be pretty. So once I got those two pieces of interfacing on there, now I can turn it. And I want to lay everything neat, and I'm just going to press it really quick. Now I'm going to fold it again so that I can find that center. And I'm marking it with my nail, which I have plenty of right now. Oh, and it almost, the fabric pencil almost showed right through. So I'm just marking it with the fabric pencil. It's something that'll wash out. You could even dab it and clean it once you've done all this. And the piece that I'm going to attach is the smaller, flatter piece. It's just, I would do that because of this being the flap. It's going to be more lightweight, and this little piece here is thicker, and it might be heavier on that flap and cause some issues. I don't know if it will. Maybe it will. Maybe it won't. I don't know. So I'm going to center this little washer. I'm going to use a pen just so I can show you guys what I'm marking, but I'm going to hold the washer in the center of that little X or that cross that I made there, and I'm going to mark where I want the holes to go. I don't know if you guys can see that, but anyway, I can. So we're going to take our little seam ripper. I'm going to use my new one because my old pink one I've had it a long time and it's getting dull. This one's nice and sharp. You want to be very careful at this step. You don't want to rip this open too much. But you want to stick your hand in the flap and get that piece right there where the interfacing is, and just don't poke your finger. Just very easy. See, I poked my finger and it kind of hurt. You just want to open that up to where you made your mark. You don't want to make it any bigger. Don't make it too small. So now I've got that open, and what will happen is I can fit these little prongs right in there. I'm going to turn it wrong side out again just a little bit to show you. So now you see our little prongs. We're going to take our little washer, and this is how I do it. Somebody told me one time how to do it a little bit different, and I don't even remember how it was, but I don't care. This is how I do it. I make a lot of bags, and I've made a lot in the past, and this has always worked. So now I've got the little washer on those prongs, and I do have a little tiny craft hammer. Hopefully I don't smack one of these acrylic nails and break it off, but in my moving stuff around, I've lost it again. It's not really lost, it's just put up somewhere where I can't find it. So what you want to do is, I do mine to try and get the prongs where they are flattened outwards, because I just think it's less bulk. Go. Now we've got our little one piece of our snap closure on. I'm going to zoom out so you can see it. And I'm going to baste this open piece closed. Okay, so you see I basted that, just sewed it closed at the top of the flap there. And so once we have the flap kind of pinned on here, what I intend to do is press this so that this kind of folds over square. Hopefully I can do that. So I'm going to leave a little room for that. So if I pin it on, it's going to be right in here somewhere if I fold it. So I'm going to just, yeah. Okay. And we're going to do the same thing again. I'm going to take the washer and put it in the center of the X. So now we've got that. And you see, it's just a snapper like that. Now what we want to do is get the strap. We want to make sure that we are putting it on with the right side of the strap out. And I'm going to go to the machine and just baste the straps on. I do want to do that because I don't want them shifting. So I'm sorry guys, I forgot I had the camera close up. I'm just basically going to go to the machine and use a long stitch length, like number 4 on my machine, and straight stitch, and just stitch it on there to keep it in place. Okay, y'all. So now I've got the strap basted on here. So now I'm going to take the lining with the wrong sides facing together on all of this, y'all. That's what a drop lining is. You don't have to do any turning. So it gets kind of tricky with these straps because the straps that I made are really stiff. But that's, like I said at the beginning, that's how I wanted them. So I'm going to open up my seams on each corner so that they lay as flat as I can get them. Line up all the corners, opening up the seam allowances. I'm just making sure that everything's in there, and I'm going to do some pinning. And so, once, if you're like me, you've struggled and cussed your way through pinning this bag, you can start to attach the pieces together. You just want to make sure that everything is even and laying flat, because if it's bunched up when you pin it, it's going to bunch up when you sew it, and you're going to cry. So what I'm going to do is go to the machine, and I'm going to loosen the tension a little bit for this. Just a little bit. I can't tell you. Follow your machine's manual instructions. And I'm going to use a little bit of a longer stitch length because it's going to tighten up anyway with all of these layers. So okay, so now that you have all the pieces sewn together, you can go and just kind of make sure all your strings are cut and everything looks pretty good to you, and you're pretty happy with the way it turned out. So now you want to press it to make it look really nice. Alright, y'all, so there you go. That's how it looks after you press it. And I think this is my new favorite way to square a bag. It looks so neat. You don't have to worry about lining up those seams the way I've done with other bags before. It's so annoying because you think it looks perfect when it's wrong side out, and then you flip it and you find out that you didn't line up that bottom seam with that side seam, and your seam is a little off and they look crooked, or they end up bent that way or that way. So I like this. It's a nice squared bag, and I love this material. I mean, I seriously love this material from My Fabric Designs. It is my favorite, and I think I might have to get more. That is a nice little bag. What do you guys think? You like that? Did you enjoy this little tutorial? Well, if you did, hit like, share, and be sure to subscribe to my channel. And if you really enjoy what I do and you want to help me to keep making these awesome tutorials for you guys, please be sure to check out my tip jar and leave me a little something. You can leave anywhere from $1 to $500 at a time. I don't expect $500 at a time, but if you guys want to throw a few dollars in there to help me with getting materials like this and supplies to do my tutorials, I sure would appreciate it. I'm also working towards the goal of getting a MacBook so that I'll have a better video editing system for my tutorials. So that is it. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Peace, y'all. Bye-bye.